In July 1518, a woman named Frau Troffea stepped into a street in Strasbourg and began to silently twist, twirl, and shake. She continued this solo dance for nearly a week without stopping. This map shows the city's position within the Holy Roman Empire, a region that, at the time, was the center of a bizarre and escalating crisis. Within days, the movement spread. 36 other citizens joined her in the streets, overtaken by the same inexplicable compulsion. By August, the epidemic had consumed 400 people, all dancing with a desperate, involuntary intensity. The toll was fatal. Dancers collapsed from sheer exhaustion, dying of strokes and heart attacks in the middle of the town square. This event is not a legend. It is a meticulously documented historical reality. It leaves us with the question of what invisible force could compel an entire population to dance themselves to death. Local physicians, unable to find a physical cause, eventually blamed the phenomenon on hot blood. Their solution was to have the afflicted continue their movements, believing they could simply gyrate the fever away. The city council even built wooden stages and hired professional musicians to provide a backing rhythm for the dancers. This decision backfired. The music provided a pace for the movements, turning the epidemic into a lethal, organized marathon. The mania finally subsided in September, only after the survivors were taken to a mountaintop shrine to pray for religious absolution. Because the authorities' literal interpretation of the illness only exacerbated the death toll, modern researchers have had to look elsewhere for the true cause. One explanation for the outbreak focuses on a biological toxin found in the local food supply. This is ergot, a toxic mold that grows on damp rye. When ingested, it can cause violent muscle spasms and intense hallucinations. However, ergot poisoning severely restricts blood flow to the limbs. This physiological reality makes the days of sustained, high-intensity aerobic exercise described in the records impossible. Others have suggested the dancers were members of an intentional religious cult, performing a coordinated, trance-like ritual. But the explanation supported by most modern historians points to a phenomenon known as stress-induced mass hysteria. In 1518, Strasbourg was devastated by famine and disease. The population was living in a state of constant, extreme deprivation. These stressors were coupled with a powerful local superstition that Saint Vitus could curse the city with a dancing plague. The combination of chronic starvation and religious dread reached a breaking point, allowing a psychological crisis to manifest as a mass physical event. The 1518 plague in Strasbourg stands as the most lethal documented case, but similar manias erupted throughout medieval Europe. These manias appeared in Switzerland, Germany, and Holland, suggesting that the phenomenon was a recurring feature of the human condition under duress. It highlights a terrifying capacity of the human body, the ability for psychological trauma to seize control of physical autonomy. In environments of extreme, sustained collective trauma, the fragile human mind can effectively hijack the physical body completely. While the exact trigger that drove Frau Troffea into the street remains buried in the past, the mechanisms behind the outbreak are clear. The dancing plague of 1518 serves as a reminder that when a society is pushed to its absolute limit, the mind can break in ways that are both public and deadly.